Let's close this library. Do I want to save it? No. And go back and open that ECE 5410. Has it been helpful putting this on the web? Yeah? Okay, so now I'm going to say I want to make an icon for this cell here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to go right click on it and I'm going to say duplicate cells and group. And it's going to say, what do you want to call that? And I'm going to call this my divider or something like that, okay? And it's going to duplicate all the cells in that group. So now when I go back over here, I see, hey, I open it up, there's my divider, I open this up, there's this. Now, whoops, wrong one. Open it up there, I see the cells. Let's say I want to create an icon for this divider here, which is what you have to do on Wednesday, right? Yes. There, nothing, because that's not going to work when I do this. What there are, to answer your question, the question is, are the V and V out exports, or what are they? And they're not exports. They're simply node names. I named the wires, that which is useful in Spice. And by the way, the most useful thing in troubleshooting what you're doing when it doesn't work is to look at the netlist. Because if you can't look at node 1 connected to node 1 where it should be, then you know there's an issue. So look at that text. That's why I'm going through so slow and showing you step by step how to look at the netlist. I'm doing that on purpose because I don't want you to be one of the designers that go through and go, my tool isn't working, what do I do? Who do I call? I want you to know, okay, it's not working, what's it doing wrong? Okay, so I'm going to go make an icon for this. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll go here to components. Now notice, icons are only used in schematics. Like you make an inverter. You draw the symbol for the inverter, you know, the triangle with the little dot. You don't make an icon for a layout because when you show layout, you have to show the actual physical masks that you're making. Okay, so I'm going to go put this connector in right here. The reason I'm doing this is this tells me, press X, what nodes are connected where. So put it on quarter step again. And I can put the grid on if I want. Now I've got 2 ports on this off-page connector. It doesn't matter which one I use to connect up. Now of course if I do this, it's not connected. But if I hit F5, it'll tell me it's not connected. Okay, so what I'm going to do instead, first off, I'm going to show these. Next, I can go over here and right-click. Now notice there's a pin here that's unused. So when I DRC the schematic, it's going to flag that and say, hey, there's an unused pin, but that's fine. I just hit delete and clean it up. So now I can export this port here. And I'm going to select that port and hit Control-E and call it VIN. And you know what? We don't know if it's going to be an input or an output for what we're doing. We'll just leave it unknown. It doesn't matter. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put a ground. Now I'm going to select this port, Control-E, GND, and I'm going to export that. And last but not least, I'm going to drop in this. And you know what? Let's say I want the flat end to always be where I think of my input at. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just the way it's drawn. So I'm going to export this. Control-E and call it V out. And I can play around with the sizes. Oh, let's do this. Control-I. Let's set the size to 1. Apply. That's a little too small. 1.5. Apply. Move it in. I can do the same thing with this. That window's already open. I know it's 1.5. Apply. Move it out of the way. Of course, you have a bigger screen. You don't have to worry about it. Point is, you don't have to close that window. You can leave it open and change everything. And you can do it all at once, too. Alright, so let's not worry about the last one. So now I'm ready to make an icon for this schematic. Now notice, here is schematic layout. Okay? When I put the little icon here, we have blue, red, yellow. So there's a little blue cell view that I'm going to use. So I want this to be painless. So I'm going to go up here to view, and I'm going to say make icon view. Just hit that, and then hit fit, and now notice it put this little cell here up in the top. This is an instantiated or placed cell. So if I go over and I hit fit, I can now move down into that cell by pressing what? Control D. Just like I moved down in my NWL layout. So I can press Control D and go down and edit that, or I can press Control U. Now notice, it just puts it there so you can see what the symbol for the cell looks like. You can see what the schematic looks like, and then you can see what the symbol is, just so it's convenient. Now, I want to edit this so it looks nicer, and I know how to do that. Notice the 3 pins here are the 3 exports that I used, and I could hit delete. I could go over here and delete this cell, as long as it's not used in other places. I could change things around, and I can go up here and say make icon view, and make another icon view and start over. Okay, so now I want it to look nice because I don't want an inverter to look like a box, and I don't want an AND gate, NAND gate to look like a box. I want them to look like gates, so when I'm doing troubleshooting, I know what's what. Okay, so I'm going to hit now Control D. I can move these things around. I can take this, and I can move, and I can select. Oh, I want this. Let's do a Control. What was it to rotate? Yeah, J, and I can move that. Oh, no, you know what? Control Z a few times. I'm going to do this instead. Control J. Now notice the only thing that's important here on where I make my connections is this box. Okay? This pin, this label here, goes away when I connect to it. So if I want to label, or I want to see that it's got a label, I've got to put annotation text in here. I might as well put some annotation text in while I'm at it. Oh, it's showing artwork. Well, now I know I can go in and I can drop something in. I can press Y. I can move it around. I can make whatever shape I want. You know what? I can even get rid of, press Y again, I can even get rid of that box. Then I can go edit this, press Y, draw my little, let's do that, right click, go up, whatever symbol I want, and leave it at that, press Y when I'm done. Now, if I go back, hit Control up, there's my symbol still shown. If I go look at my Explorer, there's my schematic, there's my symbol. Now, let me show you what some of you did that bothers me when I look at a schematic. Okay? So, are there any questions about making the view? You know how to make this so you can draw whatever you want. And you should be able to go here and draw anything you need. Okay, a circle or whatever. Oh yeah, I can put a circle in here and then do a Control I and look at it and say attributes. And let's see if I can go down. Oh, well, let's see. Yeah, we don't want that. Adjust the position. I only want 270 degrees. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, there we go. Oh, I want to close this, and then I want to rotate. I can move it around, and you can do all kinds of stuff, all right? So now, in the boxes and whatever you want. So now let's say I make another cell. So I do a Control N, and I make a schematic, and I call this temp 2. Then I go over here. Notice I'm all in the same library. And then I come down here and I go, oh, you know what? I'm going to make a mistake. So I hit Control G, turn off the grid, and I'm going to drag this in here. Oh, okay, it didn't tell me. A lot of times it'll tell you, don't you want to really copy the icon in here instead of the schematic? And yes, I want to copy the icon. But let's delete that and then use my icon, drag it in. Then I can connect up my wires. Now notice the name went away, so if I want to see the name after it's connected, I got to put annotation text there. Connect up here, connect up there, and there my symbol for, let's do a Control down, moves down into the hierarchy to the symbol that I drew. Am I going too slow? That was a joke. Because I think I'm going fast. You have to tell me. Any questions? No. It's just a picture. No. In fact, here, let's save this library so you can play with it. If I go look at this divider here, let's see. Where's a good divider? Here's a good divider. If I go edit this cell, many people did this, and when I see a circuit, I want to see continuity. I want to see a circuit going down. So I do a control down, and let's say that I move, let's leave that there so our circuit stays connected. Let's say I go here, press Y, and I move this over, move this over, move that over, press Y, control up, and now I look at the schematic, and I don't see a connection around the circuit. And so that bothers me. I want to see, just like here, I don't see a connection like an inverter going in and out in the schematic, and so I want to see continuity going around. Electric doesn't care what you draw for the symbol here. This is for humans. It's not for the tool. So you can do whatever you want. Okay? Does everybody understand what they need to turn in on Wednesday for an icon? So what would be a good icon view for your divider? Yeah, I draw something that looked a lot like this. Even if you used more than 5 resistors, I'd just draw resistor, 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 and then I'd label with text the nodes. So let me show you something. When you do SPICE, several of you did this as well, or when you're outputting a SPICE netlist, you can, in your annotation text, you can come up here and you can put text in, and you can say, Control I, and you can go output, and that's funny. Okay. If you go now into your circuit, so that may label this output, right? If you go back into your circuit, which is this one, and I zoom in on that, I say, there's my output. This does nothing. If I go double click on this node, that names the wire. If I go do a star, $, exclamation output, I've named that wire that. Well, a lot of times SPICE doesn't like non-alphanumeric characters, and so it will not recognize this as a node name. So if you put that in there, it won't work with SPICE. But you know what? Let's see what SPICE does when we generate this netlist. It's going to be a lot of errors, but that's okay. Temp 2, save, right click, explore, go up. Maybe it works better when there's LT SPICE isn't going to like it. So I look in here and I see there's my sub-circuit. It's called my divider. It has 3 nodes, V in, V out, ground. There's my end to sub-circuit. There's my nodes inside, V out, V in, V out, ground, V out. Notice if this was like 1, then I'd know these 2 nodes are not connected, and that's an issue. Okay? But it doesn't care. Let's see, where's the node? Here we see the node name. In some SPICE simulators, you can input this netlist, but when it goes to try to simulate, it won't know. This will confuse it. So like if you do an op amp and you use V plus using the plus symbol, it doesn't work in some simulators. And so it's best to avoid funny names. Just avoid pain. Any questions? Yeah. Okay, good question. I'll remember to repeat it. The question was, if you have SPICE code within a schematic, like down in, let's just hit fit and do a Control D and go down here. Let's say you put SPICE code in here. It will put it or place it in the sub-circuit. So it will look at it in the subcircuit, but it won't look at it in the higher ranking, in the main part of the cell. So if you want it to be for all of your SPICE simulation stuff, you have to put it in the top ranking cell. So generally what I'll do, you'll find later, is I'll do a design, and then for the simulation, I'll just put the design in a cell that's called design underscore sim, or underscore sim1, and then go from there. So one last thing before we leave electric, or are there any questions before I cover one last thing? Is this making sense? Okay, so one last question. When you're